Now let us come to the next part about the focal point. Okay, about the focal point. So the first focal point and the second focal point. So before going to that point, okay, before going to that focal point, the first and second focal point, let us come to the same point, that is about the principal focus. So principal focus, I have told you that, okay, in case of a principal focus, there are two principal focus on either side. That means the principal focus can be on the right hand side also as well as on the left hand side also. So how it happens is that since the lens is a transparent medium and the light can pass through both the sides. Light can pass from left to right or from right to left. So therefore principal focus can be on both the sides. Okay, so depending upon that condition here, let us come to the principal focus, or we call it as a focal point. Okay, we call it as a focal point. So the two focal point will be there. Okay, the first focal point and the second focal point. The first focal point related with first focal point is also known as the first focus, which is written as F1. And related to this first focal point, there are the first focal length and the first focal plane. Two more terms again we have to remember from here. Okay, related with the focal point. So we are discussing, or now we will discuss about the first focal point and the second focal point in case of a convex lens. We are discussing only about the convex lens. Okay, now let us consider this as a convex lens. Now this is the principal axis, yes, straight line. Okay, and as you know, in a convex lens, what will happen? In the lens, that means in a principal axis, the ray of light, they don't deviate. Okay, they passes straight without any deviation. Now let us consider a point on a principal axis. A point on a principal axis through which rays of light deviate. That means from the principal axis, there is a point on the principal axis. Okay, that is on the, I am taking on the left hand side. Okay, there is a point on the principal axis. Through that point, the rays of light, they deviate, and after refraction, they travel straight. That means they travel parallel to the principal axis. This is the principal axis. So this the rays of light are deviating. Okay, they are deviating. But after refraction, these rays of light will travel straight or to be parallel to the principal axis. So therefore, now this point, this point on the principal axis, this point we call it as a first focal point. So in a first focal point, the rays of light gets diverted. They get diverted. Okay, and after when they get diverged and when they falls on the lens, after refraction, they goes parallel to the principal axis. So this is known as the first focal point in case of a convex lens. And related with this, and the distance between the optical center and the first focal point, the distance between the optical center and the first focal point, we call it as a first focal length. This is known as the first focal length. That means this distance from here to here, that means O to F, OF1 is the first focal point, which is denoted as small letter F1. Okay, then another point is there, a plane passing through the focus. That means the plane passing through the first focal point perpendicular to the principal. This is the principal axis. The plane passing through the first focal point perpendicular to the principal axis is known as the first focal plane. So this is known as the first focal plane. So this plane is known as the first focal plane, and from O to F1 is considered as the first focal length. And the point on the principal axis where the rays of light, they deviate, and after refraction they travel parallel to the principal axis. This point is known as the first focal point. So in a first focal point, in case of a convex lens, the rays of light after refraction, they goes parallel to the principal axis. Okay, so this is the first one. First focal point taken as F1, or also known as the first focus. Related with that, first focal length. This is the first focal length and first focal plane. Now let us come to the next one, that is second focal plane. Also, second focal point, which is written as F2. Okay, now let us come to the next point. Second focal point, that is F2, also known as the second focus, then second focal length and second focal plane of a convex lens. Okay, now let us consider this figure here. A ray of light parallel to the principal axis, after refraction, they converge at a point. Okay, they converge at a point. Okay, and this point on the principal axis where the refracted ray they converge, this one is known as the second focal point. This is known as the second focal point, which is denoted as F2. Remember this, second focal point. And this second focal point is also known as the second focus. This is also known as the second focus. Okay, so in the second focus can be seen on the, can be observed, will be formed on the right hand side. Just look at here, just imagine here, okay, on the right hand side they are forming it, whereas on the first focal point on the left hand side, second focal point on the right hand side. Okay, and the distance between the optical center and the second focal point is known as the second focal length. This is known as the, from here to here, this is known as the second focal length, and the plane passing through the second focal point perpendicular to the principal axis known as the second focal plane. But instead of first, now this will become as a second focal plane. So this is only in the case of a convex lens. So in a convex lens, in terms of principal focus, you should remember the first focus and the second focus. And the first focus is also known as the first focal point. Second focus is also known as the second focal point. Okay, which is denoted as, first focal point denoted as F1, second focal point denoted as F2. And related with that focal point, there is a focal length and a focal plane also. Focal length and focal plane, which is known as the first focal length and the first focal plane. Similarly, second focal plane and the second focal length. So this is only with the convex